Boom! Longhorns grab wide receiver Jaime Ffrench out of Jacksonville's Mandarin High School. Ffrench becomes the second wide receiver commit of the recruiting class for the Longhorns. Texas going back into Florida, Jerry, a place that's been good for them in the last couple of years under Steve Sarkisian. Tell you what, Longhorns and the recruiting train that is ending here in the month of August really picked up steam. The latest one with Jaime Ffrench out of Jacksonville, Maryland, 6'1", 185 pounds, 62 catches a year ago, 1,247 yards, 14 touchdowns. Big-time pickup for Steve Sarkisian.
Huge pickup because, look, Tashard Choice did a good job getting Texas into Florida. That was the Orlando area. That was IMG, the I-4 corridor down into the Tampa area. Jacksonville's been a different story. This is – I mean, Bobby, I don't know. That kid has terrible body control. Look at that. And but I don't know. I'm thinking back in the city of Jacksonville. Has Texas ever got a player before? I mean, it'd have to be way back, right, before you were in the business. I mean, I can't recall anybody. So
yeah, I don't remember anybody from Jacksonville. Andrew Beck was from Tampa most recently, and they had some guys down in South Florida that
Jimmy Sutton type that never signed with Texas.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, so Jaime Ffrench out of Jacksonville, Mandarin High, same high school as Carson Beck, Georgia quarterback, a number of other players, lost in a state championship game last year. But look, this is a huge pickup because Texas now has gotten a top prospect in the country from Jacksonville, #1 running back in the country 2 years ago, Cedric Baxter from – that's a heck of a catch right there, body control. Orlando, and then IMG last year with Jarrett Gibson, who was originally from Florida, from Gainesville, Florida, was going to IMG. The other crazy thing about that is Jarrett Gibson was a Florida commit. Cedric Baxter was an FSU commit at one time. Jaime Ffrench was committed to Nick Saban in Alabama. Okay, so that tells you how good he is and how highly he's thought of. 35 offers during the recruiting process. You talked about his stats his junior season. Sophomore season, 44 receptions, 671, 5 touchdowns. He had 4 for 116 in their first game of the season. Florida, Alabama, some of those, Georgia have already started playing their season, 4 for 116. So he's at 118 receptions in his career for 2,150 yards. And just one of the – he is underrated after the catch. I've kind of compared him to Adonai Mitchell a little bit because I think he's faster than you think after seeing him in person. He plays on a lot of grass fields. He's a good, clean release guy against press, Bobby. There's some – you can see some A.D. Mitchell similarities like that. Is he a little better after the catch potentially? Does he have a little bit more lateral after the catch at the same age coming out of high school? But Bobby, when you watch Jaime Ffrench, I mean, there's so much to like about him, especially when you consider he's faster than you think.
I really like how he catches the ball with his hands. I know there's some body catchers out there in high school that are highly ranked, et cetera. But I'm telling you, the guy can reach out and pluck it. I also like his athleticism off the line of scrimmage. You mentioned that, Jerry. And then you see him actually make some people miss in the open field. I like the comparison of Adonai Mitchell. I really do. I don't know if he's going to end up being as fast as Adonai. Adonai ended up running a mid-4.3s in the 40 at the NFL draft or at the NFL Combine. But you know what? Adonai wasn't a track guy in high school either. Jaime Ffrench, not a huge track guy either. Once he starts getting involved in trying to train for that kind of stuff, he might be that kind of speed guy because, frankly, he just shows it on tape. People don't catch him from behind.
That's right. In the state of Florida, they don't catch him, right?
That one. He was the mule. That guy was trying to ride him out there. I tell you what, I look at it right now, and this is the second receiver commit. He joins Khalid Lockett, both top 50 guys in the country, whatever you want to call those guys, elite players. Jerry, he also represents another out-of-state win for Steve Sarkisian, not just an elite player, but an out-of-state elite player that Sark keeps tapping into. What are your thoughts right now on where Texas is at recruiting-wise? This is commitment number 19. It's a big one for the Longhorns, and I'm getting the feeling like Sark said it wasn't time to panic back in summertime, right? Clearly, he's accurate. Now we got to see what Texas does the rest of the way, but this just lines them up for absolutely outstanding class headed into the regular season. I mean, this comes before before the first game of the year, finishes out August on a really, really high note.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, so Texas has jumped into the top 10 class rankings last week with the Nick Brooks commitment, followed by Jonah Williams, the 5-star safety commitment, back-to-back days. They jumped up to 7 or 8. Now they jump up to 6. So, I mean, they're one spot away. So, essentially, what I've called 4th straight top 5 level class. Does that mean you're ranked 4, 5, 6, 7? It doesn't really matter to me because that comes down to sometimes having one more commitment in the class than somebody else does. But Texas is right on track for 4 straight top 5 classes. And I'm here to tell you, if you want to compete in the SEC every year at the level Texas expects to, and you want to make the playoffs 3 out of every 4 years, that's what it's going to take. You're blue blood in the portal. You've done well in the portal. We're just comparing Jaime Ffrench to A.D. Mitchell. Gosh, A.D. Mitchell was from the portal, right? You have Isaiah Bond and Nyblack. You have multiple guys that are coming up. They're going to be drafted that transferred to Texas from SEC power programs in the portal. And then you're going to have Trey Moore. So Texas is doing really well in the portal too. But from a high school standpoint, this puts them right in the wheelhouse of where they want to be. You have 19 commitments. You're the number 6 or 7th ranked class. You know that number is going to 23 or 24. It could go to 25. And we'll see how Texas addresses the thoughts on the scholarships going to 105, right? I mean, because we're still awaiting that as well. So the Texas is going to sign a 4th straight top 5 level class. There's no question in my mind, as long as they have a good season on the field. The question then becomes, are they going to fill all their needs? They want one more wideout. They want more of a slot guy, speed, just a shifty, quick, explosive guy to play in the slot, move around the chessboard. They would like to sign 2 or 3 or get 2 or 3 more defensive linemen in the class to go with Josiah Sharma. You could see them going for a 3rd linebacker. They want to get 3 linebackers in this class. Need to add a couple more DBs. Michael Terry's still out there, who we believe Texas leads for. So you're looking at it, and I mean, it's pretty easy to see how they're going to get to 24 or 25 in this class. And I'm here to tell you guys, if Texas signs 25 guys in this class, it's going to be a top 5 class unless something catastrophic happens on the field this year.
Terry being recruited as a wide receiver / athlete, just one of the elite players. That's a guy that we are on the lookout because we know behind the scenes Sark really loves that guy. And apparently he is potentially closing in on a decision. We just don't know exactly when quite yet, but that's another one that's on the lookout right now. And we're trying to cover that. One of the things you mentioned, top 5 class, here's the reality with that. If you want to be an elite team, which is Sark's goal, which is every Texas football fan's true goal, you got to hold serve against Alabama, Georgia, and LSU.
Yeah.
I mean, those 3 right now are going to be in the top 5. So if you don't have the top 5, you're not holding serve, right? And I do think that Sark's going to be able to do that. This late run in late August has really paid some dividends. I think that to your point about getting on some guys and finishing out, closing out some recruitments, thought Nick Brooks was big. I thought Jonah Williams was absolutely enormous from a positional need standpoint, as well as quality of player. And then you add in here today, Jaime Ffrench, and all of a sudden your wide receiver group looks like one of the best in the country, if not the best. At least it's in that conversation right now.
Let's talk about that, Bobby. What do Khalid Lockett and Jaime Ffrench bring to Texas as Texas moves to the SEC?
Size and ability.
50-50 ball winners against taller, longer arm corners in the SEC. Texas is going to face bigger, longer athletes at corner in the SEC than they did in the Big 12. If people don't think it's true, just go look at the NFL draft, the combine, and everything. It is what it is. So those guys, having a couple of those X receivers that can go make that back shoulder play can help a Quinn Ewers, a Arch Manning, a Trey Owens, a KJ Lacey, a Diabell, can help those guys out playing under duress in the SEC when they gotta put the ball in a spot and let somebody go get it against a longer limb corner athlete. You need guys like that, and Khalid Lockett may be the best in the country at that. And if he's number 1, Jaime Ffrench is top 3 in the country at that. So Texas has addressed a big need, I think, headed into the SEC that Ryan Wingo is going to provide this year and moving forward. And then you'll have Ryan Wingo and Khalil Lockett and Jaime Ffrench. That is the way you beat man-to-man coverage or win 50-50 balls in the SEC, is having multiple guys with size that can go turn 50-50s into 75-25s. The other thing I wanted to touch on, and I did a bad job at the beginning of the video, guys, Jaime Ffrench's recruitment, because this is very interesting. A lot of people had put in picks for him to go to Ohio State in the spring, okay, early in the spring. Then I'm not sure that the family agreed with that necessarily, or not necessarily, they didn't agree with it. So then it comes down to he makes a visit to Texas in April. Chris Jackson and Steve Sarkisian did a really good job in this recruitment. Once they got him and his family on campus, everything we heard coming out of that visit was Texas is going to be in the top 2. And who's the number 2 team going to be at the time? It was Tennessee. He has a lot of family in Baton Rouge. He took an official and then unofficial, maybe 3 visits throughout the process to LSU. But I don't think, I think he wanted to experience something different than getting away from Florida. Remember, he's a one-time Alabama commitment, so that thought had already crossed his mind. And then maybe also getting away and doing his own thing, away from all the family. Not that you don't love your family, but just 18, doing your own thing. So I think Texas had a ton of appeal at the end of the day for Jaime. Really good relationship with Chris Jackson and Steve Sarkisian, both Jaime and his parents. Jaime has an unbelievable engaging personality. He is built for NIL. He is built for the city of Austin. It's not a stretch, because Jamie's an intelligent kid. It's not a stretch to say he looked at Austin and he looked at Texas and said, I can see a lot of opportunity for me in Austin, along with the football, the scheme, the quarterback room, and the head coach on the football field. The off-field business part of things in the future, I think he sees a lot of opportunity in Austin.
Tremendous player. Once again, the stats: 6'1", 185 pounds, 62 catches a year ago, 1,247 yards, 14 TDs. Commits on August 30th. Jerry, what was the importance of that to him? That specific date?
Your birthday?
Not my birthday. It is my birthday. It's his birthday,
it's his mom. It's his mom's birthday. He committed on his mom's birthday, so he wins Son of the Year 2024. He's got that thing wrapped up, along with being a possible 5-star receiver. The only thing left now is to win a state championship at Mandarin.
Gotcha. Okay, that's going to do it for us. But we're going to give way here to Rod Babers, the former Longhorn all-conference defensive back, as well as NFL pro, who's going to break down the film of one Jaime Ffrench. Hope you guys enjoy this. Rod puts a lot of hard work into it. For Gerry Hamilton and our producer, Matt Hutchinson, I have one thing to say to you, Jaime Ffrench. Hook 'em.
Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, here to give you my personal evaluation of the latest commit for the Longhorns, the wide receiver out of Florida, Jaime Ffrench. Now, I got to tell you, sometimes it's just a lot of fun to watch certain guys film, and I had that experience watching Jaime Ffrench's film. It's just fun to watch this young man. I have here circled, one of my first notes is complete wide receiver. Boom, there it is. A complete wide receiver, man. It's really and yes, second thing on my notes, he attacks the football, doesn't wait for it. So he plays a lot bigger than his, I think, 6'1" frame. He plays bigger than that. A tremendous, outstanding catch radius, just great body control. You saw it on that first clip, just able to move and manipulate, contort his body in a lot of ways to really give his quarterback a wide window to throw the football to. So I love his catch radius. And honestly, he even, like I said, plays bigger. He's agile. Got great balance. Whether you're talking about whether him going up to attack the football or whether you're talking about the moves that he has after he catches the football, just shows tremendous balance and agility, even almost dancer-like when he gets the football, and just how his footwork and how light he is on his feet. I know it sounds crazy. Actually, it's weird. I was watching this film, and I noticed an old school reference. There are some times where he, on the boundary, is Lynn Swan-like with some of the moves that he makes on the boundary, because he's so light on his feet, and he can make these Cirque du Soleil-like catches because of his body control on the boundary. And he's one of those guys that he expands the boundary. You know what I mean? The boundary between the numbers and the sideline, right? When he was working at that X receiver on the boundary, he expands it. It seems like it's a larger area when he's playing it because of all the different options he gives quarterback. You can throw it up high as a 50-50 ball. You can try to, make him have to make that tight rope on the sideline. He can make those types of catches. And once he gets the ball in his hands, as you can see, he's dangerous. So every level of the field, he can hurt you. He can hurt you with his short underneath quick passes. Those are when he can make the most yak yards, right? That's when he becomes a yak daddy. Even in intermediate area, that's when he can show off his route running ability, precision route run that can create separation, timing with different and use that body control we talk a lot about to get some of those contested catches. But then there's a surprising top end speed. Now he doesn't have elite top end speed, I don't believe, but he's got enough that once he gets his stride going, he's kind of a long strider that he really can set up DBs really well with some speed cuts. But I think the most impressive thing about him is body control and catch radius and his attitude when he attacks the football. And that's why I love this young man's game. Like I said, there's no real weakness to his game as a wide receiver. He can play in any system too. He can play out wide. I think he has all the attributes to play out wide as a true X if you need him out there. But you can move him around in the slot. See, there's some of that speed of him pulling away from guys. Like I said, I don't know if he has the elite world-class top-end speed, but he's got plenty speed for him to be a threat at every level of the defense. Also, what I love about him is, this is a guy, when you start looking at his footwork, I think it's one of the underrated parts of his game. Not a lot of wasted footwork with him, whether it be getting in and out of breaks or even when he's setting up defenders as a ball carrier or setting up defenders who are playing off coverage. Not a lot of wasted footwork, man. He's really, really efficient with his footwork. Another thing that I like about his game, and I think it's one of those subtle things, a DB is hard for me to describe it to others, but it's his body language. Body language off the line of scrimmage. As a receiver, you want to try to make everything look the same off the line of scrimmage initially, so that you're not giving away exactly what your route is at the top of the route. And you don't want to give things away. You want everything to look the same until you get to the top of that route at the stem and all the way through it. And the beginning of his routes, they do look very similar. That's discipline. That's great body language, as I like to call it, of a wide receiver. And they always say body language doesn't whisper, it yells. With this young man, it's whispering. Meaning to a DB, I don't get a lot of clues from his body language, like giving away his routes, that he's about to come in and out of his breaks, that he's about to go deep, because some receivers they lean into their get off, and they lean into their release when they're about to go deep. They look very different when they're about to take the top off a defense as opposed to when they're about to run a short to an intermediate route. You don't get that with this young man. A lot of maturity to his game in terms of his body language as a receiver. Uncanny ability to force missed tackles with the ball in his hands. He doesn't seem like he's going to be that elusive, but when he gets the ball in his hands, he's really hard to bring down in the open field. I think that's part of that footwork and how he's light on his feet in terms of change of direction. So there's just so much to like about this guy's game and his skill set. And like I said, that's not a real weakness, man. I wrote it down several times, a complete wide receiver. And that's exactly what Jaime Ffrench is. That's exactly what the Longhorns have gotten with their latest wide receiver commit.